Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Are you a small business owner who's always been curious about what it's like to run a business in France and the foreign country? Well, today we talked to Jennifer Chamberlin. She specializes in helping people find their way with their small businesses in France and internationally. We talk about all the things that can help you along the way and things you can start doing today. To the show, Jennifer.
Hi, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be a guest.
I've been lucky enough to work with you on multiple occasions, and I'm really happy to share your story today. But I always like to ask people what brought them to France. You're originally from the UK. Tell us more.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm a long timer here in France. I've been here for 26 years now. And I actually came here to work at Disneyland Paris.
And what were you doing there?
So I was on the attractions. So I was on Big Thunder Mountain, which I have to say I was absolutely thrilled about because they don't tell you where you're going to work before you arrive. And I got this envelope which had the letters BTM on it. And I was like, what does that mean? What does it mean? And somebody said it's Big Thunder Mountain. And I was just so pleased because I thought, like, everybody's going to know what the ride is rather than being stuck on a smaller ride that no one would have ever heard of. So yeah, loved it.
I love that you got brought here by Big Thunder Mountain. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Mickey Mouse and Big Thunder Mountain.
So what happened after that? It sounds like you transitioned into more of a corporate role after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked there for 2 years. Absolutely loved it. It's just an amazing place to work in terms of the learning and the journey that you go on. But yeah, I wanted to move on after 2 years. And so I was bilingual already. So as somebody who's bilingual in Paris, kind of what do you go into? Well, it's either teaching or office work. And I'd done a little tiny bit of office work previously. So I was just super lucky that I got picked up by a recruitment agency, and I got placed in one of the big five as they were then, and now the big four. So that started me on the secretarial route, and I worked for different companies in and around Paris for 15 years, working my way up to bilingual executive assistant, and then 10 years ago was made redundant from my last position. And I had younger kids at that time. And I couldn't face the idea of commuting back into Paris and being gone from 7 till 7. So I've always been the EA who networks and gets to know people and connects people. And I heard about virtual assistant and I was like, what on earth is that? Like, how can that be a thing? And I've been on the most incredible learning curve since then. And I'm happy to say that I've now had my business for 10 years.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. A decade already.
Thank you. I think it's the first time in my life that I've actually stuck with something this long. And I think it's only because the clients keep turning over, which, no, not completely. I have some very faithful clients that have been, that I've been loyal to, and they've been loyal to me for a number of years. But it's great because it's constantly changing and no day is ever the same. No week is ever the same.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more about your business. So it's called the Bilingual Lantern. Why that name? And talk about some of the things you do for people.
Sure. So the Bilingual Lantern for me, so my original name was my bilingual VA, so my bilingual virtual assistant, because I know in the States a VA means something completely different. And that was fine when the business was just me and I really was still working as an assistant. But because I had 15 years experience and I'd done so many different things and worked for so many different people, I kind of came to the realization that virtual assistant just I mean, you interpret it the way you want it to be. So everybody has their own definition, but I just felt that it didn't fully encompass what I was doing anymore. And also the fact that over the 10 years, I've grown my team. And I don't only work with other virtual assistants. I have translators on my team. I have HR professionals. I have proofreaders. I have social media people. So I really felt like I needed to move on from the name My Bilingual VA. And the Bilingual Lantern was really about, what do we actually do when we work with somebody? Well, we come alongside them, we accompany them, and we shine a light on their business and the things that maybe they're struggling with, to just, take those things off their plate so that they can then focus and shine their light where they need to be shining it. So that's where the Bilingual Lantern comes from.
I like it. That's a really beautiful name and like a really good way of describing it. And I mean, I think so many of us need help because we start a business and then we're like, okay, I'm totally burnt out. I'm totally overwhelmed. So it's nice to have companies like yours that can kind of take some of that heavy lifting off of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really is the raison d'être for it. Because otherwise, we do get exhausted doing everything ourselves. And it's not a dirty word to say that you need help and to ask for help. And I think so many of us as women, sometimes, we think that we have to be these super women doing it all. But if you look at any of the big names out there, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, Carrie Green in the UK, none of those people have got to where they are today without anyone helping them.
Definitely. And what are some common things you see happening for small businesses that you think is a mistake and you guys can help with?
Oh gosh. So one of the biggest ones that I've occasionally come across in the groups I'm in is people who are so nose to the grindstone in their business. They're so busy doing the hustling and the working with the clients that they don't keep a track on their admin or their numbers. And so the most flagrant example of this is, somebody who wakes up and realized that they hit the VAT limit 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. I mean, how is that possible? And, obviously there's a lot of empathy and compassion and understanding that comes along with that, to say, well, let's track your numbers. Let's create a system where you're tracking your numbers, and it doesn't have to be something you do every day, but at least you're checking it every month, so that you can see when you're going to hit the limit and you can do what you need to do rather than, wake up in a cold sweat.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things you have to think about running businesses in France that are different from the States, different from the UK. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never run a business in either the UK or the US. But I think one of the great things about France is that they do expect you to have your finger on the pulse, but they also have they also allow you to make a mistake. So if you do find yourself in a situation where maybe you're late paying something or you're late declaring something, that they're generally pretty understanding if you're the one to go to them and hold your hands up and say, help, I need some assistance here.
Definitely.
Be the ostrich and stick your head in the sand.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard people say that about the tax office too. Like, they're very nice. You go there, ask for help. They're happy to help you figure stuff out.
Yeah, but it's a massive evolution though that we've seen, because when I arrived here, 26 years ago, I mean, the authorities there was kind of this fear of them, and oh my gosh, you don't want to have an IRSAF control, and I you still don't want to have an IRSAF audit, or a tax audit, but they're not, they don't want to punish you. Certainly today there's a real feeling that they want to help you, and you can see that, you can feel that in the websites, the way the websites are now. I was just on the CAF website for my son for something this morning, and it just feels like they want to help you, and they want to dialogue with you, which it didn't feel like that a number of years ago.
Yeah, it's a nice evolution, like you said. And what were some of the biggest surprises for you starting a business in a second language and culture?
I think I've really been on the border of both cultures, certainly from the UK and France, just because a lot of my networking has still been done with people from the UK, and a lot of the trainers that I followed and coaches that I followed and trainings that I've done have come from the UK. But at the same time, I've been able to find, I had to go through the French programs to launch my business. So I think it's been a real privilege to benefit from that. And I think sometimes as expats, we don't realize how unique our position is and how it's such a blessing. Like, if you look at a French business owner who isn't able to tap into anything outside of France, then I kind of feel like they're really missing out. And the same for, people who are only in the UK or only in the US. Being able to tap into both is a real privilege. And it's brought me so much in terms of the contacts, the opportunities, and the way of working as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're able to find clients from everywhere, not just France, as international people. So it's very exciting. And what are some common misunderstandings you see when people do business internationally?
I think expecting things to operate the same way that they do in their home country. I guess that's a big one. So thinking, oh, well, we do it this way in the US, therefore France has to be the same. And it's like, no, absolutely not. France is completely different. And so I think thinking that, and it's the same with people in the UK, thinking that they can do business in the same way, thinking that, let's look at social media content, for example. If you think that you can take what you write in English and just have AI translate it into French, and then you can just cut and paste it out there onto your social media, then no. You have to be culturally aware, and that's where having somebody French proofreading it and actually saying, well, no, that's not quite right. That's not the way people would react here. And so I think that's a big one.
Yeah, definitely expecting things just to be the same across the board, and definitely culturally and language wise, it's not the same. And what about AI? Like, how has that affected your business? Has it helped your business, or some tools that you recommend to people?
Yeah, it's been a game changer. Whereas before a task would maybe take, an hour, or research would take hours, it's just, it can be so, it just improves our efficiency massively. So yeah, but I definitely, so the tools that I've been using personally, so I started with ChatGPT, doing research, using it for the outlines of blogs, etc. Using it for planning social media content as well. But then also I've recently started using Claude, and that's been more strategic, because I've been able to tap into things that are more strategic in terms of making decisions. So there's actually a skill that I uploaded into it, which is, it's like a board of advisors. So it's 5 different advisors with their different limits and their different points of view. And if you give them a more strategic decision to make, then they'll break it down, and they'll each give you their own point of view on it. And then they give you where they agree, they give you where they don't agree, and they give you suggestions of moving forward. So, it's just a massive game changer. And then last week I was in Brussels for a day. I was training with 2 Americans. They're the most incredible leaders out there. They're Bonnie Lowe Craman and Vicky Sokol-Evans. And Vicky runs Red Cape Academy, which is training people on, she is the Microsoft trainer out there. She's trained big names in the US and around the world. And and the training, the tips and tricks that she gave for Microsoft, the tips and tricks on AI. I've never touched Copilot, I'm ashamed to say, even though I'm a Microsoft girl through and through. So I'm absolutely going to pick up Copilot, thanks to the tips and tricks that they were giving last week. So those are the ones. The other thing that I've recently done for my own business is that, they always talk about the shoemaker is the one who has the worst shoes. And I can absolutely identify with that. So, I've been running my business for 10 years. So I've got documents and Excel sheets and systems and processes, and I've got SOPs, et cetera, but I don't have one central hub where all of that is in one place. So I recently used Notion, to create a dashboard, which now has, a tracker for my leads, a tracker for my clients. It's got a to-do list that I share with some of my team. We've got a team directory in there so that I know exactly who does what and what availability people have. So that's been a massive game changer, and it's something that I developed for myself, for my own business, and it's really helped. But I'm now able to roll that out to clients, and I've started to do little bits of that with clients, which is, really, really useful. And, anything, I think I've really moved on from the, here's a task, Jen, can you do it? To here's my business, Jen, how can you support me in making it more efficient, and being more strategic? And that's a journey that I've been on over the last 10 years.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, there's so many great tools out there, and this board that's helped you. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, are there any major differences you see between ChatGPT and Claude?
They're just different ways of functioning. I like Claude because you can open up a project and you can upload as many documents as you want. I mean, a lot of documents into that. So I've been able to upload, my business Bible, which talks about my business, my mission, my why, my values. It has my ideal client profiles in there. It's just the Bible of my business, basically. And then I've put my brand style in that, my brand guide. I've put a document about my style and my tone of voice to prepare content and write my content for me. So that's been really useful. ChatGPT's been, I've been using ChatGPT for 3 years now, so I don't think there's anything he doesn't know about me.
Yeah. Yeah, and because he knows things, he can tell you things better, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I have been concerned about recent events, and so I am trying to move away from ChatGPT. And I'm actually, we're in France, we're in Europe, and there's a lot of concern about, privacy and protecting people's information and keeping things within Europe, primarily because of GDPR. But it's not just that. It's also about, we're in Europe and there is so much frigging talent out there. There is so much intelligence out there. There are so many skilled and amazing people out there that I don't want to be 100% dependent on American tools. As much as, as brilliant as they are, we've heard horror stories of people losing access to those tools because of something that's happened. And I want to be using the European tools as well. So I'm trying to use Mistral, for example. So the minute I have something in French or I have something about France that's French focused, then I tend to use Mistral. And I think also, having a menu of tools is way more advantageous than only using one and putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So I'm now working in a stack of AI tools, and I think that's the way to go. It can just be a bit of a pain sometimes if you can't remember where you've asked a question. So there are times where I go into one tool and say, when did I ask you about that? And it was I can't find anything. So and then I'm like, okay, it was in a different tool. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's like remembering with team members. Who did I talk to about that?
Yeah, exactly, and get confusing. So you often talk about bringing calm and structure to business. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs resist systems?
Oh, because it's not their forte. I mean, if you take the example, and I'm trying not to make this too specific so that we'll know who I'm talking about. But if you take somebody who is a pâtissier or an expert in wine, then that's their passion. That's the thing that they know most about, and that's the thing they're happiest talking about and working on. If you ask them to manage their expenses or to reconcile their bank account in their accounting tool, they're not going to want to do it, and they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, it's not their passion. It's not their specialty.
No, absolutely. And that's I think also, the beauty of working with a virtual assistant is that you don't have to hire somebody full time. Like, you don't have to make that commitment. You can have somebody. I've got one of my clients, I only do her newsletter for her, and that's fine. It just takes it off her plate.
Yeah, definitely. There's some things that we all just don't want to deal with. And what are the signs that a business owner is becoming overwhelmed by their own success?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question. I think it's when they realize that they don't have enough hours in the day, and that they're up in the morning early, they're finishing late at night, they're still in front of the computer at 11 o'clock at night. Maybe they're having sleepless nights. It's one of those questions that sometimes we ask on a discovery call is, what is it that's keeping you up at night? What is it that wakes you up at 3 a.m?
Definitely. Yeah. What's keeping you from sleeping? Very important question. And what's one thing every creative entrepreneur should put in place before they desperately need it?
Oh gosh. So I've actually got a tool which is 10 systems every entrepreneur needs before year 2. So I would say I would say tracking your numbers. I think that's the big one. Because, so often, especially as entrepreneurs, so often we don't want to talk about money. We don't want to talk about the figures. It's really hard to find entrepreneurs who there are a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners out there, especially on social media, for example, who will be like, oh yeah, I've reached this massive, I've reached this massive level of income and it's amazing. But they don't talk about the actual structure of that. And there isn't one person out there who can say, for example, oh, I made 100K in turnover and I made 100K in take-home pay at the same time, because that's just not possible. There is no business on earth that would do that.
Yeah.
And so, and I think we have to have, especially as women, we have to have those spaces, and we have to be willing to have those conversations and to actually, and it's something that actually. So I read a lot, and I've read a lot of business books over the last 10 years. It's always something that I just really enjoy. And I'm actually reading Emma Greed's Start With Yourself at the moment. And it's something that she's really open about. Like, she's really open about us sharing sharing the contacts, sharing the people who've helped us, sharing about our numbers so that we can inspire, because it's that thing of you can't be what you can't see, and you can't become what you don't understand. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's so true too. I think a lot of people, whether you have a business or you work for another business, we're scared of the numbers. We're scared to know how much we're spending, how much are we making, and really run those numbers and know the truth is so empowering.
Yeah. And I remember when oftentimes in France, we're able to start with that simple status of micro-entrepreneur, which is fantastic. But even from that stage, I was tracking what I was spending in my business. I knew I didn't have to. I knew the authorities weren't going to come and ask me, but I wanted to know for myself, how much is my business costing me?
Yeah, it's empowering to actually know those numbers.
Because then that allows you to, change business statuses when you need to.
Be prepared.
So I think, I think knowing your numbers.
So many people think creativity and structure are opposites. Why do you believe they actually need each other?
Oh my gosh, it's exactly the same, and I think I think this will resonate with you. But it's exactly the same when you're bringing a kid into this world and you're bringing a kid up. That you have to give them structure and boundaries. If you just say to them, "Yeah, do whatever the hell you like, whenever you like," well, your kid's never going to know how much sleep they need. They're never going to know, if you don't grab them back from crossing the road, what's going to happen?
We have
If
to
you don't,
learn.
but you're not going to let your kid walk in front of a car. You're going to grab them back and say no.
Yeah.
It's that old thing. This might be a UK thing, but we were with the example we were always given as kids was, you don't let the kid touch the kettle, or if you do, you let them do it once and then they learn their lesson.
It's very
And it's still a boundary.
exactly.
So yeah, and I think it's from having it when we know what our boundaries are, then we're a lot freer to let the creativity flow.
I like that because I'm actually reading a book about parenting in France versus the States, and they talk a lot about that, how in France there's very strict boundaries, but within those boundaries, a lot of freedom, which
Yes.
could be the same with our business.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So have you noticed any patterns among entrepreneurs who thrive long-term versus those who burn out?
Oh gosh. I've been through burnout myself. I went through it 3 years ago, and I think it's almost a rite of passage. And I think it's like failing in business. Like or failing in life. We're never successful every single time, and it's because of those times that we fail that we learn something and we, do things differently the second time. Whereas if it was only ever perfect, we'd never learn anything, and we wouldn't. I mean, it's the same. It's the same as when you go through tough times in life. That it's a pain in the ass when you're going through them. It's a pain in the ass to go through burnout, but at the same time, it enables you to understand yourself better, to know what your limits are. And I know, for example, for me now, I'm more cognizant about what I need to do to look after myself. So, for example, last week I had 3 days in Brussels to attend this one-day training, and I knew that I had a busy weekend coming up as well, because I was at a full-day event on Saturday, and I knew that I was going to have to work on Sunday as well to kind of catch up on what I hadn't done over the week. So I made sure that Thursday, before I got the train back, that I took time for myself and I went for a pedicure.
It's just little things like that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. We have to make time for ourselves because running a business takes so much of our energy. So it's all about making time for yourself.
Yeah. It's that sentence that's been repeated so many times about you can't pour from an empty cup, and you need to fill your own vase before you start helping others. It's the same as putting your own putting your own oxygen mask on first.
Definitely.
And it's so important.
What practices have helped keep you grounded and creative?
So I have to say for myself that my faith is really important. So keeping grounded in that. I might not be somebody who goes to church every week, every Sunday, but having those moments of, listening to a meditation or listening to, a passage or listening to music, those are the things that help me.
Definitely, we all have to have something that we can turn to when we're really feeling like.
Yeah, and also knowing like that my business isn't just, the bilingual lantern isn't just Jennifer, but it's also the one who inspires me and the one who grounds me. And I wouldn't be here without it.
I love that. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Being free to, what comes to mind is being free to make something beautiful. And being free to make something beautiful doesn't have to mean art or music or dance. There's a beauty in an SOP that's done right. That means that somebody can just let go of a task because they know how it's being done. So
getting in that flow state. Yeah, I like that. And what's some future things going on with your company that you're excited to share?
Oh gosh. Well, after a bit of a gap, without being on too many stages speaking, I'm finally getting back out there. So I have developed a method which is about the fear that we feel as entrepreneurs and in life. So I'm now working on a talk for that. I've actually shared it twice already. And I'm going to be talking, it's actually next week, at City Paris Ladies. So I'm super excited, about that. No pressure. So that's something that, I think I've realized that my journey and my experience and, and everything I've learned can help other people. And so I want to be doing that. And I also want to touch more people than I can in terms of the working directly with people. So I would love to put a talk out there and have somebody contact me and say, oh my gosh, I heard your talk and, it just really resonated with me and really helped me. And that would be amazing. I have been told, because I did the talk as a 6-minute pitch last year. I have been told that there's a book in there somewhere, which I kind of couldn't believe. So maybe that's on the future list as well.
That's fantastic. Those are both very exciting things. And what a beautiful note to end on. Where can people connect with you and learn more about your business?
So I'm on the social media platforms. So the Bilingual Lantern, Jennifer Chamberlin. I just have to say it's Chamberlin, Lin, as opposed to Lain, because some people get that confused. On social media, my website is about to be published. Hopefully by the time this goes out, it will be published. That's been a labor of love. That's where I am.
Fantastic. Well, we'll share all that in the show notes, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I really appreciate the chance to have this conversation. It's been beautiful.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.